The ANC has made the list of mayoral candidates public over the weekend and failed to reach consensus for Tshwane. After the intervention of the executive committee, Thoko Didiza was nominated and subsequently confirmed as the contender for the post. Thoko Didiza served as the Minister of Agriculture and Land Affairs in June 1999 and as Minister of Public Works in June of 2006. She is a member of the NEC and the National Assembly House chairperson as well. And on the debate, we ask if Thoko Didiza can bring Tshwane back from the extreme edge of possibly losing to the Democratic Alliance. And of course, joining us today, I have my panelists. I have Professor Shadrack Guto. He is a political analyst. Also joining me is Mr. Fikile Bili. He is a local government expert. You're also welcome to call in and express your views and tell us your thoughts on 011-542-2186, or you can tweet at ANN7TV or at African_Audrey. Well, we'll start the show now, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So with the new announcement of Thoko Didiza being the mayoral candidate for Tshwane, do you think she can bring Tshwane back from the brink edge as we approach the elections? I'll start with you, Mr. Bill.
I think the people on the ground needs to respect the decision of the African National Congress to deploy a credible senior leader. Those of us who knows Thoko Didiza, she comes from the ANC Youth League. She serves under former President Thabo Mbeki and now under President Jacob Zuma. She brings a lot of level-headedness, calmness, and professionalism and political stability. Now, if the region of Tshwane are seriously considering focusing on the elections for ANC to win back Tshwane, I think they need to put their differences aside and consider the people on the ground, the members of the ANC themselves. Because, you know, sometimes I find it very strange. How do we have people fighting to be councillors? You don't fight to be a councillor. You are nominated. And if the structures have nominated you, your political party has the final say. That's why you find that the African National Congress, nationally and provincially in Gauteng, have agreed on the name of Thoko Didiza because they have their own reasons. That's why they even vetted candidates to be councillors.
Right.
Yes.
Professor Guto, with all the infighting and voices of dissent coming from the ANC, do you think their cadres, and in this case, Thoko, will be able to muffle out all the noise and just be able to concentrate on the elections?
Well, I think that what Fikile has just mentioned is important, but what I draw from his comment is the question of from the structures. The structures are the branches of the ANC. Then they go to the district, then province, then national. The branches made decisions which the provincial level did not like, and the provincial level of leadership changed that, and the national endorsed it. And therefore, when you talk about structures, I think we hear a lot about, you know, we go through structures, people make decisions at the branches. We need to decode that and be able to say sometimes it is more of policy saying, but in reality, that's not the case. Because in this particular case where Honorable Thoko Didiza has been nominated to be the candidate for the ANC in Tshwane Metropolitan Municipality, the top structures put aside what the lower ones are done on the basis or on a claim that there's a lot of division at the bottom, and therefore they don't want that division to go into the elections. But it means, therefore, you are saying your decisions are not correct. We will dictate to you what we think is correct. Now, that is one of the challenges that Madam Thoko Didiza will have on. You are already being told you are going to probably inherit a divided house.
Yes.
How do you put it together? when you are really not from that region, in terms of your history and so on. She has been at the national level, at parliament and so on. So that, to me, is where we need to focus and say, will she actually do the work, or is she under a condition which is going to be very difficult for her?
Right. Does it matter, Mr. Billy, that she's not from within the region?
I don't think it matters, because at the end of the day, the ANC is national. If someone cannot make it in a certain province, and we have someone who can make it in another province who's got capacity and expertise politically, then there's a need for deployment. I don't think the African National Congress has made a mistake by deploying Thoko Didiza. What the members of the REC should do, they should separate their differences and concentrate on building their organization in order for it to face this election united. Because at the end of the day, my question that I every day ask myself, why are you fighting? They are not fighting for positions of leadership, they are fighting for resources. And these resources don't belong to individuals. Fikile Billy does not own a municipality or a region. It belongs to the people. If they love their people so much, they will do the right thing and humble themselves and leave their differences behind and make sure that they go for a victory, so that the people must be the beneficiaries. But now you have these individuals who cause disorderly situations, you know, and then you ask yourself, are they fighting for the ANC or are they fighting for themselves? ANC is a big organization. It doesn't belong to individuals. It belongs to the masses. People must stop this thing of, if you are not elected or nominated, then you start causing disorderly situation. I've been following your programs as I decide every day. I've realized a lot that there are those who are not even qualifying to be councillors, who are actually backing those disgruntled politicians so that they must go and cause a havoc. If you can look at the current situation, ANC is the biggest political party. They are the only ones who are fighting because it's huge. Everybody thinks that if I'm in the ANC, I will loot. ANC is not a looting organization. It's an organization for the people. So people must know, if they are deployed, they can be redeployed elsewhere. If Thoko Didiza can be taken from national to the municipality, it shows he's not even bigger than the ANC. So wherever the ANC deploys you, you must respect that. Even if they remove you, you must still respect that.
So essentially, you're saying some candidates have their own personal agendas which have nothing to do with serving people. This is why there's so much infighting.
A lot of them.
I want to come to Professor Guto. What if the synergy between the REC and the government doesn't work? Does this then render Didiza, a lame duck in the job that she's supposed to be undertaking?
I think the ANC is confusing a lot of things. It is conflating the ANC leadership and national leadership, provincial leadership, local government leadership. And we need to move away from that paradigm where you conflate all of them and say the ANC is the leading party, it led the liberation movement, therefore. And sometimes it claims it is the only liberation movement that liberated this country, which is not true. The masses on the ground participated in that process, and people are waking up to begin to say, please don't sell us this ideology of the ANC's everything in South Africa. I don't agree with the paradigm of thinking of trying to put the ANC as ruling until Jesus comes. We don't know when Jesus is coming. He may come today. And I think that is very important for us to bear in mind. But what I would say here is Thoko Didiza is a person of integrity, a person who has competence, has served credibly in all the positions she has held in government, at the executive level, in parliament, and so on. So I respect her, and I've worked with her while she was in those positions.
Mr. Billy, you want to respond?
I want to differ a little bit with my learned friend. When he says ANC say they will rule till Jesus comes. ANC was in the forefront of the liberation struggle of this country. ANC was the first political party that changed people's lives, that bring democracy, that even improved my personal life. Yes, there were other political parties, but they were not brave like the ANC, you know. They were not in the forefront like the ANC. Even their military veterans were not active like the ANC. I don't say they were not, but going forward, I'm going to ask my party, next local government elections, we must have qualifications. We can't have a councillor candidate with a standard 6. That's not going to work.
That wouldn't work. I have to ask you to hold on. We have the Health Minister, Aaron Motsoaledi, on the phone. Minister, thank you so much for joining us on ANN7. Your reactions with the announcement of Thoko Didiza as the ANC mayoral candidate for Tshwane?
Thank you very much. Well, I'm watching the program. I'm an NEC deployee to Tshwane. I'm a member of the National Executive Committee deployed to Tshwane. I'm just appealing to Professor Guto as he analyzes. He must leave a bias and hatred of ANC aside and talk to facts, because the facts he's mentioning there are not true. For instance, he is talking about the national executive and the provincial executive dictating to the branches. I think it would have been fair for him to check our resolution about how mayors are chosen. And ever since local government started in 2006 or in the year 2000, mayors have always been chosen by higher structures. No branches ever choose mayors. It has never happened in the history of ANC. The resolution now that allows the PC to intervene says the regional executive, not the branches. Regional executive will give 3 names from which the PC will choose, and the PC has got the final decision. So this dictating, where does it come from? The second mistake, he is saying Thoko Didiza is a non-resident. Thoko stays here in Tshwane. He once even became a secretary of a branch here in Tshwane. He has been participating. The REC told us yesterday she worked with them in 2009 elections here in Tshwane. I don't understand what is the meaning of her not being a resident. So I'm just saying those facts must not be distorted to put a particular line. Thank you.
That's the Health Minister there, Aaron Motsoaledi, just giving us his comments, not agreeing with what Professor Guto had said earlier. We will come back to you, Professor Guto. I'm sure you would like to respond to what the Minister has said.
Yeah, I respect the Minister, but I don't agree with him at all. Because first of all, he's trying to say non-resident. I didn't use the word non-resident. He's introducing it into the picture. I think if Motsoaledi was taken to Durban to be the ANC candidate in Durban, he may not make it. Because people will say, where is he coming from? What's wrong with the people here? So Nguninization of leadership in the country is a problem, and it's going to be a bigger problem as we move ahead.
Right.
If we ignore it, it will come to haunt us later on. So I think that is a fact. But of course, Thoko Didiza brings, as I said, leadership, but also gender dimensions. Because the ANC now has 3 women and 5 men in the major metros as candidates for that. And that is good. But there are other underlying factors that we cannot ignore and just say the ANC always does the right thing. I think the ANC needs to wake up, and the leadership needs to wake up to say the population structure is changing. Those who are in the liberation movement are not going to be a majority as we move forward. Particularly now, it's almost 50-50.
Right, it's the new generation that's coming up now.
Yeah, it's coming up, and they want to see what have they experienced since 1994. That is where they start. They don't start with the, 1912 and so on.
With the old generation. Mr. Billy, is this a short-term solution that has been brought by the ANC? Do you see it backfiring in the future?
If it's well consulted on the ground, I don't see it backfiring. Like the minister has rightfully said, that Thoko Didiza, she does have a property and she is a resident of Tshwane. Irrespective of where does she originate from. I mean, how many people have relocated from Limpopo to Tshwane Today they are residents, some of them are business people, they are politicians. Like I said, in the ANC, it's not about where you come from. It's all about what you can do for the people on the ground. And I strongly believe that Thoko Didiza has that capacity to serve our people and to bring that calmness into the dynamics of the city of Tshwane. And I also believe strongly that if the comrades of city of Tshwane love their city and they don't show their competitors their weaknesses and unite for the sake of the organization, I think they can always have conferences like introspection conferences after this whole process of elections and see how they can resolve their problems.
Absolutely. We have a caller on the line. I understand we have TK from Toy. And thank you so much for joining us, TK. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by Professor Guto when he actually saying that Thoko Didiza has been parachuted to Tshwane, whereas she's a resident of Tshwane. And it makes me a very, very angry person as a resident of South Africa, because I don't want to be somebody who becomes a person who said that he also is not a South African, Professor Guto. He assumed a residency of South Africa. So the history and the dictatorship of South Africans he doesn't know. So in that, I'm not happy, because he doesn't like ANC at all.
Right. TK, thank you so much for your remarks. I understand we have another caller on the line, Lucky from Sharpeville. Lucky, go ahead with your thoughts, please.
How are you, man? How are you there and your partner?
Yes, Lucky, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, what I'm trying to allude to is what Professor Kutu has said. Yes, there are comrades who are coming from all over here, who ANC deploys into other towns or cities, like us here in Vereeniging. We know there is somebody coming from somewhere who is here. Then there is a lack of infrastructural development and economical upliftment in our area, in our town, because we know this person in his heart, he doesn't love where we are. Then we don't know whether this is the mandate of ANC to discredit our livelihood here or what. So I think the Professor Kuto in that it's right. And then my second point will be the revolution of South Africa. It was not only ANC participation. We have a Pan-Africanist Congress who took upon themselves to take the knives and the pangas to show that we are fighting for the land. And then it went to exile. So it's not only ANC that led the revolution of South Africa. 1984, Sharpeville took him to the stand where 3 September, it was the state of the nation. Then it was the masses, it was the population, it was the people, it was not the cut members of ANC. No, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your thoughts, Lucky, there from Sharpeville. We'll come back to studio. Professor Guto, most of these questions are for you. The matter of geographical location seems to be coming up again. Does it matter that she might not speak the language of, the people in Tshwane, since she originates from KwaZulu-Natal?
I think it matters. Operating successfully at the national level cannot be translated automatically to operating successfully at the local government level. And if the ANC doesn't realize that, and members of the ANC don't, then they are really in another cloud, world. They are not in real world. And I think that is important. Secondly, those who are expressing xenophobic, utterances of I don't know, because, I don't want to deal with that.
All right.
Thirdly, let me say that the challenge to Thoko Didiza is the ANC has accepted that there's disunity in the Tshwane area, in leadership, and therefore they need somebody who can unite. That's not from me, that's from the ANC. So if it is from the ANC, how will she be able to get what the ANC has said is a division which they are trying to solve. So she has a big challenge. So all I'm saying is that we really need to be realistic and say it is a divided house. She's being brought in into, they call it a compromise candidate. And that in itself is a challenge. We can't just say wherever you are deployed, you are going to do well. It depends on where are you deployed and what is the context. If the context is division within the ANC, then it is a big challenge, but I wish her all the best.
Right. Mr. Billy, arguments of whether Didiza is the best neutral person and if she'll be able to understand the cultural dynamics of Tshwane, your thoughts on that?
Let's not use that as an excuse. Jacob Zuma is from Kandla, but he can go and address the people of Mangaung. He can't speak fluent Sotho, but he tries. Thoko Didiza can speak Tswana, can speak Sepedi. It's not a question of language and culture or religion. At the end of the day, it's a question of credible leaders that are deployed in problematic regions like City of Tshwane. Let me say this today. There's different divisions. There's divisions of the stomach. There's also divisions of opinions. I'm saying you can never fight to be a councillor. If you fight to be a councillor, you are not fighting for the people. You are fighting for your stomach. If ANC did not approve you, it's not a train smash. Life still goes on. If Gwede Mantashe and Jesse Chuarte say, Fikile, you did not make it because of 1, 2, 3, why fight? Why don't you just take a back seat and go and regroup and come back a better leader? So at the end of the day, not everybody is going to be a councillor. Not everybody is going to be a mayor. And for the fact that these people are deployed, I think ANC after these elections must take them to counselling and tell them, listen, you are deployed. Tomorrow you can be removed if you don't deliver.
They need to understand that.
Now they take this thing of mayorship and councillorship as if it's the biggest lifeline, whereas it's just a temporary employment. I don't even think they've got contracts because they are appointed with fingers. They can even be chased away with fingers.
With the same fingers.
So at the end of the day, let's respect the decision of the ruling party, especially at the national level. For the fact that they vetted a lot of councillors, some did not make it, don't be disgruntled.
Right.
Work for the organization, even if you are not elected. Go back to the ground, do groundwork, and work for the organization so that it must be successful, not for yourself.
I'm curious to hear what you think, Professor Guto, what you make of all the violence that broke out on the sidelines of the mayoral candidates list. It is alleged that obviously it's due to factionalism in the party, but just looking at the bigger picture, as we approach the elections, how do you think this will affect the dynamics of politics in the ANC?
It will, but I think I would start by saying at least the two main candidates who got the majority of the votes of the province, of the branches, have already come out to say they will support the candidacy of Thoko Didiza. And that is good. But they are talking as individuals, mind you. They are not speaking for the people who are trusting them, who voted for them. Those people may behave very differently in the actual ballot box at local government level.
Let's take another caller who's on the line. Lunga, very good evening to you. Your comments?
Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Please go ahead.
I'm good. I'm just so disappointed by the professor there. Mr. Guto, he always negative about it. We know that. And then speaking to Thoko Didiza is a very experienced cadre of the ANC, and we all know that. But Mr. Guto, you like to comment things that are very much unacceptable. And we don't like a person like him coming to this country. I'm sorry to say that.
So unfortunately, we cannot allow hate speech on the channel. We will have to go ahead and wrap up this debate and ask for closing remarks from both of you gentlemen. Very quickly, 30 seconds, Mr. Bedi.
It doesn't matter where Professor Guto comes from. He's got his own opinion. As a citizen in South Africa, it doesn't necessarily mean he has to agree with the ANC or any other political party. He's a political analyst, an academic on his own. So we should not use hate speech or tribalism or xenophobic statements just because he differs with certain people and certain views. But going forward, I'm going to say to South Africans, this government has delivered. What we need to do is to do an introspection and say, what have we done for this government? Because going forward, I strongly believe that this government will deliver even much better services. And whatever is happening currently in the ANC, I will propose that my party goes to an introspection conference where they were going to sit down and resolve all these challenges.
Thank you, Mr. Bili. We're running out of time. Professor Guto, closing
The last
remarks.
one I would say in maybe 30 minutes is really to say Thoko Didiza is very able. She has proved herself to be a leader. Local government is the most difficult area to lead because it is the area where you are really dealing with service delivery. And service delivery is a hot potato at the moment.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, I will have to thank you for your time. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. Just a quick reminder of who I had. I had Professor Shadrack Guto, political analyst. I also had Mr. Fikile Bili, local government expert. Thank you for watching ANN 7 Prime. My name is Audrey Shwanda, and have a good evening.